They will give you always the best rate.
They connect to Binance, HitBTC, LMAX, and Kraken.
What I like about SwissBorg is that they have an amazing app.
Pow wow, yo, yippee yay, Claude. Do you know how you know where that's coming from, right?
Of course. Come on. I grew up in the 90s just like you did. So
All right, exactly. Claude, super excited to have you on the show. As many probably know, Claude and myself, we met back in 2017 during the ICO
yeah.
craze. It was good times.
Wow. Yeah. The good times. Good old times.
And yeah, I mean, we're very excited to have you. Obviously, Mimo has been on the radar for many people who are into DeFi. Claude, you've been into the blockchain space for a long time. How
Yeah.
did you come up with this whole idea?
Well, I mean, as you've just mentioned, I've been in blockchain for quite a while, and I mean, I've talked quite a few times about how I got into it. In general, it was more from an engineering perspective, really, because I'm a software engineer originally. But more recently, for let's say the last effort, the Mimo effort, it's more of executing on the data we had. We've had a lot of data explaining us that some people were looking for a consumer alternative to the dollar stablecoins. They were seeing all this innovation coming, all this yield, all those great things coming. It was always for the dollar, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing was really built around the euro. So we felt like, well, maybe we should build a euro stablecoin, build a platform that would allow the euro stablecoin to grow and to be minted like properly, like as in not a stable coin that would have some backing in the bank, but more a proper DeFi stable coin, and like then have a plan to have a proper use of the stable coin in a DeFi ecosystem. So not only it would be minted in a DeFi way, but it will also be used by normal DeFi platforms. So on multiple chains and all these things that's what we're doing right now. And the last step of this would be to then bring it back to the consumers, which is why the goal is again to work with you. It's so the idea again came just because we're reading the data, but the execution now is about like, okay, like build something that is good enough so that big platforms such as SwissBorg can integrate us and provide like both our tokens, our governance token that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but also our stablecoin, like to their users, so they can enjoy like really the vision and what essentially they have asked for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's funny to see that, I think so. If I may, the inspiration maybe as well from MakerDAO that got in to create a
Yeah,
really a nice, enjoyable DAI, which has a little bit lost a little bit of his main core importance in the recent DeFi movement. Uh, but there is a need for the European right market, and I think so. This is most probably the most exciting project into having a stable coin that really represents euro, and it could be really used into the market. Um, what were maybe your biggest inspirations to get this, and why did you, like what is the purpose behind, I would say, Mimo?
so simple. The inspiration, as you mentioned, from a technological perspective, was clearly Maker, right? We looked onto the map and we're like, well, what are like the good models for stable coins that would translate well to a new European token? Because uh, I would say that some models would adapt pretty well to a dollar stablecoin and would not adapt that easily for the euro stablecoin. Because again, when you bootstrap something and there is pretty much nothing you can trade with efficient liquidity, you need to have a model that allows you to, well, to trade. Okay, so what we've built was something that could not really have been built, I would say, like 4 or 5 years back. And it's mostly thanks to the AMM platforms, because as soon as you realize that you can incentivize the trading and the market making, you're like, oh, then like the most difficult part about creating a euro stable coin is kind of fixed. You just have to incentivize providing liquidity for it. And then that's what's interesting with Mimo. We've just built something that is pretty normal in the DeFi world, but that would have been unthinkable a few years back. You mint a new token from collateral that you already have, and this token can trade well just because, well, it's incentivized to provide liquidity for it thanks to the governance token that you have on the other side. And this simple loop makes it pretty easy. So that's the kind of the how to of how get started and how we could bootstrap the token. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the grand vision is really to have something that is like full DeFi on one side, like really like it's for crypto, by crypto, and usable in the DeFi world. But on the other side, something that really interfaces with the consumer world, because we do believe in a B2B and B2C approach. B2C as in really like a proper consumer thing, and on the other side, we know that we already have demand from corporates that want some proper return in like in a euro
Of
token,
course.
because like those guys have treasury sitting in euro, can't
Exactly.
do anything with it, and they can't really enter DeFi. With the people tell them, well, give us your thing, we turn them into USDC, and we give you dollar, like something like dollar-based gains. But those corporates with large treasuries like come to us, and we're like, well, maybe we can do something. And this is also why, I mean, there's a whole layer of Mimo that is not public at all, which is all of our ops department. Like shout out to our CFO and our COO for handling those things behind the shadows, because they don't really get much shine. It's only the DeFi protocol that gets all the shine, but we're working on something that is more connected to the real world, that those guys are working on, that you can't see yet, that will allow us to do this. But meanwhile, before anything is like that, it is really the plan for us is really to integrate with platforms such as SwissBorg, because you have the consumer demand and you have people who are actually asking for proper euro yield.
Of
And
course.
the good thing is that we are actually, I mean, we have an actual engineering meeting like almost every week. Like, okay, we're building those things for SwissBorg. Like it's we know, like we talk with you guys like quite a lot. We talk with Anthony of your team, and the latest feature that you can see on our governance page is actually something like we've developed because because we're working with you guys, right? The part
Yep.
staking feature that allows people to stake stablecoin and be paid in stablecoin based on the interest that people pay on their loan is something that we've built, so it can be even more interesting for you guys to integrate. Like it was like developed conjointly between
Yep.
with our teams
100%. Yeah.
together. And it's I'm very happy about that, to be honest. Like I'm like, okay, cool. Like our friends from 2017 are like, we're coming around. We're still alive. Okay, we're doing
That's
something
like
cool
four
together.
years and a half ago. So that's like more than 30 years in real life, right? So
You're right.
that's
Yeah. That's cool.
uh, So let's go into the product directly and I'll share my screen. So guys, as you
Wow.
can see, this is a wonderful platform. Obviously, the vision makes sense. The partnership with SwissBorg working together hand in hands to provide a better decentralized world and as well better products for you guys to yield on Euro is here in the making. And I think so the best is always obviously to have a presentation via the founder. Maybe can you explain us a bit, the platform. Unfortunately, my wallet is not connected because it's not my computer, but I do have a stake into Mimo, and I am yield farming as we speak.
Yeah. So just to add some little precision on what you've just mentioned, the way like you got a stake was because you were a user. Like everybody who got a stake in Mimo is because they're
100%.
users. Like the platform had a fair launch, and you were like a user of Mimo like pretty much from day one. And you derive
Yep.
utility from it and all that, and that's pretty awesome. Like like I mean, I'm gonna describe the platform, but before that, I just want to add a little bit of the vision of that. The whole point here is that we're building a form of a financial infrastructure that the users own. There was no pre-allocation of the tokens and stuff like that. It was all like distributed. And the fact that we're giving in the hands of a lot of people because we're joining forces with SwissBorg will allow a lot of people to have a normal like a financial life with a euro-based token be paid in governance tokens, so they can choose what they can do in their own bank. Like I think about it, like it would be similar to having a bank, except you make the rules because the bank gives you the right to control it, which is something that nobody really gives you. And that's what we're trying to build like all together by integrating Mimo and SwissBorg. So but Mimo is not a bank. Let's remember that it's a DeFi protocol. So you're on the platform right now. What this DeFi platform and this web app is made really is here for is to allow you to lock collateral to mint stablecoin, so you can essentially like enjoy the liquidity of your collateral without having to spend it. The way you would do so would be to go on the tab mint bar, that is like the second tab in the top on the top menu, like that would allow you to mint bar. Yeah. So by here you would essentially connect the wallet. Well, you're not on your computer, so you won't be able to do that. But simply, this would allow you to deposit some, say, ETH or wrap Bitcoin or any such thing into a vault, and this vault would be something that only you have access to. Except once you decide to mint some stablecoin against it, you can't withdraw the collateral anymore because, of course, you have to pay back
Of
whatever
course.
you've borrowed to the protocol. And but before that, before you pay it back, because you are really like benefiting the whole platform. You're helping the platform to grow the economy because you're minting par. The protocol incentivizes you and pays you some governance token because you're officially a user at this point. Like to be a
Mm-hmm.
user on Mimo, it's not about us being a sign up or doing any such thing. It's really just like either you mint par or you provide liquidity to par. So this is the minting par phase. Now, if you want to provide liquidity, you have all those pools below that allow you to provide liquidity. Why do we have these pools? Like you have par wrap ETH, par Mimo, par USDC. Then you have like some euro pool that we do with here is with Euro T, Euro S, and SUR on Ethereum. If you go on Polygon, it's a different pool that we do with the Jarvis guys and all that. Some pretty interesting pools. But why do we have these pools selectively? Well, because the governance of Mimo has decided that incentivizing the liquidity of par against certain assets would be beneficial. And
Mm-hmm.
like at the beginning, it was the liquidity with wrap ETH that was the most important. Like little by little, we've realized that the liquidity with USDC seems to be a little bit more important. So we're always having a few like we're having incentives vote like every other month to rebalance the incentives to make sure that what people want to trade par with is properly incentivized so the liquidity stays decent. And like today, it's on balancer pools. But what we've realized is that there could be some more efficient ways to trade par against USD to maybe use some other pools that would have concentrated liquidity or something like that. So we're researching that, and there will be other proposals like soon enough to try to move liquidity and make liquidity mining more efficient for everybody. But essentially, this is what the platform rewards, and the platform rewards the users in governance tokens, which are the Mimo tokens. So the
Mm-hmm.
Mimo tokens are here used in the page that you've just opened to vote on the governance proposals. So the last proposal that you see here is a new buyback feature and a par staking fee. So it's a proposal for two features. What is the buyback here? I will just like be really quick on it because I mean you guys can go and read, but essentially it's just that a part of the minting fees that you owe the protocol when you borrow some stablecoin from the protocol will be used to buy back some Mimo on exchanges, decentralized exchanges, and to lock them for 4 years. So essentially, the protocol is buying back some tokens with the income that the protocol generates,
Very
and
cool.
with these governance tokens, the protocol can long on the tokens in order to lock them for 4 years and to have some more incentives later on. So essentially, I mean, we are of the belief that the token is probably cheaper now that it will be in say 4 years. So the protocol is essentially longing its own asset by just like buying more in the market, and the protocol is doing maybe let's hope. I mean, the government seems to hope that it's rational decision for this. So it looks like people are voting for it, but that's the thing. The protocol is buying back its own tokens from the market in order to have more incentives later on. And the bar staking is essentially allowing users to stake bar in the form of a pool and to be paid for it. And the reason why the protocol does that is in order to counterbalance the flow of people going to mint bar and only sell the bar for USDC or something like that, which would put more down pressure on the bar. We have a few things. On the one hand, you can use the fact that the bar price could go below the price of €1 and play the arbitrage by
Mm-hmm.
repaying cheaper debt. So that's one way. Or we can provide other incentives to hold some bar in order to limit the presence of liquidity on the market, just like you would do in the central bank with interest rates. And we're just allowing the protocol to rebalance some of its incentives in order to simplify the ways we can balance the price of bar. So this bar
Very
staking
cool.
is essentially a price stability tool that we use, which has as a nice byproduct the effect of proposing for users a great form of a very stable way to get returns, right? It's a nice yield, euro yield in euro type of thing, because the token is based around euro. So this is the thing that we wanted to do for SwissBorg. It helps us stabilize the token, but it also allows like for a nice product that we can provide to consumers.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, to sum it up, I mean, I really think that, this is not only because, we know you well and we've been farming this project since the beginning, I think so. And we
Yeah,
really believe that this is something that is a groundbreaking evolution of how DeFi should be playing and how people could really, not only farm and get, as a good APY, but be part of this governance on chain that you just saw, how you could think about people proposing initiatives and voting on them on a very democratic way. I think so at SwissBorg, this is something as well in terms of philosophy that we always envisioned. And I think so it really shows this real DEO, right? I think so that's really awesome about what's happening at Mimo. Um, Now, the big question, obviously, is people want to know how people are going to benefit from bringing you guys into the app. Obviously, well, this is a very early stage project, meaning that you're not at a 50 billion market cap yet. So that's one thing. It's an
yeah.
early stage project, which is great and has great momentum behind it. There's as well. What did we have as discussion we just had earlier, Claude? And with Anthony as how to really provide a new way for getting high yields in euro, right? That's the big thing that we want to
Yeah.
build together. Claude, do you want to talk about that as well?
Well, it's simply the what's interesting here is that we have our two tokens that we're working on together with guys at SwissBorg. At first, is the governance token, which means that it's essentially the token that will provide all the users the right to govern the platform. So there's obviously an economic upside potentially if the token goes up in value, and so some interesting things about a holding governance token. But it's mostly about having the right to govern a platform that could be central to the European part of DeFi as we grow.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, like it's giving the SwissBorg users the hands on essentially the rights of a form of a DeFi central bank, if I may, because like any token that is listed on Mimo would be by default be given the right to mint a European stablecoin against it, and
Mm-hmm.
having the power to list new tokens, having the power to change interest rates, and having the power to change how much you're paid before staking part is a power that will grow as the platform grows. And having like the keys to this power early by getting Mimo tokens is a governance that, in my opinion, could be rather valuable. So that's essentially what we want to put in the hands of people. I'm one of those who believe that DeFi as a whole, not necessarily Mimo, but like anything DeFi, is likely undervalued because people do not understand how to value governance, and it's too difficult today to understand how to value governance. But if you think maybe 5 years down the line, like the power of these things could be gigantic. Like think about it: if you had a token that would allow you to list anything on Binance, what would be the price of this token? Like the price of this token would have been tiny when Binance just started because you would not really care. Yeah, it's a token and
Yep.
this and that. And if Binance was fully decentralized and this was a token that will allow a vote that to list a new asset, then you would be like, oh god damn, you can by vote of a token give an enormous amount of liquidity and exposure to a new asset. That would be like super powerful. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same that's happening in DeFi. The power that you will have once those platforms grow will be crazy. So this is why, I mean, I'm personally like long on many DeFi protocols. Like even some protocols that would be considered like competitors from whatever we do, I get into governance and all that because I'm strongly believing that this is the keys of tomorrow's power. But again, That's just the main gain that we
Mm-hmm.
want people to have. There's also the fact that when you stake Mimo tokens, you will be paid because we have just the same way we have the bar staking, we have a Mimo staking feature that
Right.
allows you to decide to be paid more Mimo for staking Mimo. Because again, we want to incentivize like the people who are really wanting to belong with the protocol. So that's for the first part. That really lead on the Mimo side. On the other side, there's the yield part that you just like alluded to, right? Um, we do have some staking programs. We do have some ways to put money in pools that would limit the risk that you take. Let's say you put like some bar in USDC in a bar USDC pool, you would have some nice APY and all these things without taking much of an impermanent loss risk because you're only taking half of the forex risk, depending if you're coming from dollar or from euro. It's an interesting thing, and we're working on so much more to have like let's say yes strategies. Like we're working with Anthony, the CSO at SwissBorg, to work on efficient strategies to list like more assets, to have like different ways to do yield and to have yield in different assets. Like so it would be interesting. Like with the guys at Jarvis, for example, where we have a pool where the yield is in future tokens and all that. So that's really an interesting thing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, look, I'm pretty sure that look, the DeFi has so much growth, right? And
Yeah.
tackling one of the first early side project, which is about changing the money and how then you could pledge this money, how you receive a yield, is really the core of DeFi. And as mentioned, we know for a long time. We know that Claude, but as well Yassine and other people from the team have been into this game for long term. Um, what is your maybe expectation of 2022 regarding DeFi and regarding maybe Mimo, how things are going to evolve?
Yeah. So um, it's a very good question. I think we're in crypto where we've been proven wrong so many times about trying
Yeah,
to predict the future, except on one thing where we've never been proven wrong is the fact that it keeps growing. Like
that's true.
we've been like you can never predict what is going to happen and all that, but you can always like predict the fact that it's going to keep growing. So and I think we're still in growth phase in terms of DeFi. Like I just had lunch with an 18-year-old guy, like one guy that is like on the communities of so many of our projects, a guy named Jean Bras, that is like he told me about some project I had never heard of that were so innovative. Like the sheer amount of innovation that you have
Hmm.
coming to DeFi is unreal. The tokenomics that we're gonna see coming on the new project is amazing. Like people are almost gamifying governance to really like make sure that people um, are actually empowered. Like we're almost like forcing a form of a democracy in these protocols to make sure they are decentralized as we say they are. And
Right.
this is what I believe will happen in 2022 is essentially just a strong evolution of DeFi. So more people in DeFi, more money in DeFi, but more importantly, more I would say interesting DeFi protocols. Also, I'm seeing that DeFi has kind of ignored the war of L1s and L2s. DeFi protocols just want to be everywhere. Like
Yeah.
good platforms are like really going on multiple chains. Look at Sushi. Like those guys are on so many chains, and because we don't have to choose. Like there's a chain that does something nice that has users that have interesting assets and all that. Well, that's cool. Which is in a way a pretty interesting answer to the scalability issue that everybody was complaining about. People were saying like, "Oh, the blockchain can't scale and all that." Well, what if we have 100 now? Like is the argument still working? If I can have my transaction on Phantom and bridge them like seamlessly and then have another transaction on Harmony and do all these things and always have some pretty interesting DeFi protocols that sometimes somehow chain specific, like you have on Solana with Serum and Radium that have the pretty
Yep.
nice order books and things like that. I suppose that it will be easier to use multiple chains and you won't even have to know it. And it's this is pretty much what I see is going to happen. Like the level of abstraction of chains could grow and would just make the experience of using the blockchain so seamless that the old finance looks even older. So yeah, and for companies like SwissBorg, it means even more yield in your product. It means even like more asset classes. It means such a great experience for your users. So yeah, I only see good stuff. Like I'm definitely ignoring price action in this because I really
Yeah.
don't care. And in
You don't
DeFi,
know.
we
We
have the
never
option
know.
to
Yeah.
ignore price, like because even when price is moving down, we still have great movements. We still have arbitrage to do. We still have great ways to provide returns. We still have like we can be so independent from the prices, and we can still provide a lot of values to our users. So that's really interesting for both of us. I think like future is bright for 2022. No matter what the market is saying, the size of the market is growing, and that's what matters.
Exactly, and if I could rebound on that, Claudia, and I have never sold any Mimo capital just for the sake of saying this, but more importantly, because which I didn't do, I wanted to show this today, is that I wanted to put my Mimo into another pool to get more Mimos, essentially then after to vote on different things. Because please remind everyone, investing in crypto is great. Changing the course of crypto is even better, right? We talk about hodling, we talk about yodeling with yield, but the next step is even after you're yielding in order to get more governance power, in order to vote for a better future of not only your own future, but the future of this planet and the one of DeFi protocols. And I think so. You guys have
100%.
brought the full cycle here, what you're doing, and I think so. That is the reason why we get along very much. maybe a last thing, Claude, to where people could follow you on different social media. Obviously, there's the Twitter of of
We
Mimo.
have
Is there
Twitter.
something else?
Sure,
I
yeah,
think
the
you guys have a
Twitter,
really cool
Mimo
podcast as
DeFi.
well, right?
Yeah,
You guys have a new podcast.
Well, and you'll see a very cool guest very soon. So the podcast. So we have a podcast. We're on Twitch. We're Mimo DeFi pretty much everywhere we are. We have a Telegram channel, which is where we're the most active. We have a Twitter. I'm personally on Telegram, same username at Claudio, Klodio. Like always, I mean, you can reach out to us for anything. As long as it concerns Mimo, like you want to use the product or work with us or get a job, you can always reach out to us. So that's great. And those are the best ways to reach out to us. I'm personally not like very active as a poster on Twitter, even though I have an account. It's pretty much dormant. I focus more on Telegram. But this is where we are, and that's the easiest way to find us. Like Mimo DeFi everywhere.
Perfect. Well, this was great. Thank you so much, Claude, for making it. And for sure, as said, Claude is a really fantastic human being. Mimo was a
Thank you.
fantastic DeFi project, and wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. That was amazing. Thanks so much.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you zero fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.